Test, test, mic test. Test, test, mic test. Alrighty, so let's get this going. Test, test, mic test. Looks like everything is working. We got everything recording. You should be able to see the screen clearly and hopefully the audio as well. And there was a backup. I have a little bit of mic here sticking out of my shirt, so hopefully the audio comes out super good. I'm a full-time investor and a marketer, so creating these videos and recording them, this is all new territory for me. But want to make sure everything is working okay. Give it a quick second. If you're wondering why the board seems a little bit off or askew, it's not the camera. I put up that board myself, and so apparently it came out a little bit off. And yeah, so that's why, right? So it's not the camera. But before we continue, I always like to timestamp these recordings that we make. And today is Friday, November the 8th. And I'm doing 2 cameras just to make sure we record everything correctly, right? So you guys should be able to see that pop up on there. Alrighty. And yeah, so let's get this going. My name is Gil, and the whole purpose of this video is to share a little bit about my background and my story. We've got a bunch of people that's following our content with regards to investor training, lead generation, and we're also getting a lot of feedback and interest from private investors as well. So I wanted to put this video together to share my story, build some rapport, and connect with the audience and the subscribers that we have. A bunch of people have been also requesting, hey, you know what, if you guys can move to like a whiteboard format, that would help a ton. So this video is to start off that series again, to share a little bit about my background and my story, right? So my name is Gil, and it's spelled G-I-L. My friends call me Gino. That's my nickname. And for those that are closest to me, they just refer to me as G, right? So I moved here from Manila, Philippines in August of 2007. So that's when I first got started here in the United States. Wasn't a very glamorous start, must admit. I was couch surfing for about 3 months when I first got here. Not exactly the best time to make that move. I think real estate was just absolutely getting beat up during that time, and so it was a little bit rough, especially just finding work. I was looking for anything and everything that I could get my hands on, right? Now, prior to 2007, I am born and raised in the Philippines. Proud Filipino, right? In grade school, I got great grades. I was on the honor roll, all throughout. I played football growing up. Not the pigskin kind, the one with the black and white checkered ball. I grew up playing football left wing. I continued all the way through high school on the football varsity team there. Continued playing left wing and left fullback. In addition to being active in sports and varsity, I was also a member of the student council. I was a student council president, so very active with student government, working with inside and outside organizations. So I definitely spent my time, definitely spent a good amount of time in there as well. I was able to stay on the honor roll, which to some continues to stay a mystery, since in my sophomore year I was notorious for actually just going to school 1 to 2 out of the 5 days in the week. I also got busted by our school nurse and the principal with regards to skipping and missing out on classes. One of my best friends growing up, and we're still very close today, Christine, pretended that she was my aunt, right, so that I could get excused and get sent home because I pretended to be sick, but that didn't turn out so well. And yet, I was still able to stay on the honor roll, graduate football varsity, and maintain my, and run and win as student council president. So that was my high school. Going into college or the universities, I finished with a degree in business management, and I also have a minor in entrepreneurship, as well as a minor degree in Mandarin and Chinese studies. I stopped playing football, and I did not continue in that sport. Instead, I shifted disciplines, or I've always been active in firearms and shooting, and so in college, I was able to pursue my other passion, which is rifle and pistol shooting. I trained with them all 4 years, and was fortunate enough to even train with some of the best shooters and get an invitation to try out for the national team as well, right? I remember one of the most crucial decisions at that time when I was at the university was whether to go stay on the national team or to pursue and start up a business, and I chose to go into business, right? Other fun facts about me being in college, football varsity, that's when I started my first company. I was 19 when I started and incorporated my first company, and we were in the digital archiving space, right? So you see companies like Iron Mountain, where they take giant stacks of documents, put it onto a little CD or DVD, and eliminate all the paper, so it's taking you paperless. Now, at the time we had launched that service, we were one of only 4 companies offering it. And so, we were able to go from, 0 to hero in a very short amount of time. And I credit a lot of that to my very first mentor, Jason Coe, who's still president of a major advertising and media group back home. During my freshman year, I remember Jason saying, when he was a freshman, right, this was during freshman orientation, the speaker at the front of the room was saying, I want to make $1 million before I graduate here at the university. And when Jason said that, I was one of the people sitting in the audience. It just kind of, it hit me, right? It was like this light bulb in my head went off, and I automatically started thinking, well, heck, if I'm going to be here for the next 4 years, might as well figure out a way to start a business, launch it and continue its operations and hopefully make some good money off of it as well, right? As a business management student, your thesis in your 3rd and 4th year, right? Your 3rd year is when you start preparing for your thesis. That's when you find a business concept or idea, and you're going to put it together, do all the necessary research, and in theory, if you wanted to launch the company, you could very well do so. So you're looking for vendors, costs, the full package, right? So it kind of went hand in hand with that concept or idea of, hey, by the time I graduate, I want to be able to clear $1 million. Now, keep in mind, right, this was out in the Philippines, so cost-wise, right, and exchange rates, most people kind of get like the eyeballs just absolutely pop up. But, again, that's in Philippine pesos as opposed to US dollars, right? So I want to make that clear. So the concept kind of worked hand in hand, right? I was thinking, okay, I want to be able to start a business and push for the goal of exceeding 7 figures or hitting $1 million by the time I graduate here in college. And since my management degree was going to require a thesis and a business to be launched in your 3rd and 4th years, might as well actually put everything to actual use and get it going. And that's when I started my first company, where we started digital archiving. Eventually we added selling computer hardware and software to other companies as well. I worked my way from small medical clinics doing scanning all their documents and papers, which is a fancy way of saying my buddy and I converted my 2-bedroom apartment across the university into a giant warehouse of paperwork. And we sat in the living room with Frankenstein. That was the first computer workstation we had, and we called it Frankenstein because we salvaged parts from my computer, from my buddy's computer, in order to put something together, and we had a flatbed scanner. So just imagine, scanning one document after another with a flatbed scanner and one of those lamps that goes, all day, all night. So if I wasn't in class getting good grades, I was training for the national team. If I wasn't doing that, then I was spending time, building my business, and eventually we were able to go from small medical clinics and offices, and I was sitting in the boardroom of the law firm that ousted our previous president, or was handling that particular case. So these guys had warehouses. They had the motherload of paperwork, right? And I remember sitting in the boardroom making a presentation to them, talking about the benefits of going paperless, how they can save money, increase efficiency, and all that good stuff. And when it came towards the end of the presentation, where you're supposed to close or make your offering, I explained to them, this total project's going to cost about $2 million to complete, I'm going to need a 10% down payment to get started, and we can start the project in about 2 to 3 business days. And it was just silence, right? We just kind of waited, and I looked over to take one of the main principals, one of the main decision makers at that law firm, and he looks at me, he looks at the rest of his management team, and he looks at the lady in charge of financing and accounting, and he says, "Well, Gil, like the presentation, it makes sense. It just so happens we've been looking into scanning and converting a lot of the documents that we have, right? And so it's oddly enough, you end up in here from a referral of so and so and this and that, and why don't you go ahead and get with Linda? She'll cut you a check for the down payment, and we'll make arrangements to start handing you some documents or give you access to the warehouse." And that's when everything kind of just changed, right? And in that split second right after he said that, I couldn't believe he had said yes. I was hitting my buddy underneath the table thinking, holy smokes, it's a $2 million, this is a huge size contract. He's about to give us a 10% down payment on top of that. What most people don't know and still don't know at the time is, we were still operating out of my college apartment, right? So I didn't have the office, the industrial scanners in order to handle it, nor a vehicle to transport all that stuff. And I knew all that going into the presentation. So that's where the 10% that we had collected, it was the biggest check I've ever held on to, in my life at the time. And right after that, I remember taking pictures with it and texting my mom and my grandma how it went. I went straight to the Xerox headquarters, purchased industrial scanning machinery. I made arrangements to buy the van from my dad because we had a Nissan Vanette. That became our company truck and delivery truck for quite some time. And it was absolutely awesome. So that was my first experience with entrepreneurship, and probably one of the biggest things that I'm pretty proud of, and learning experience, while I was at the university. I graduated in 2007. And I continued with just kind of shopping around. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. The archiving and computer sales was going well, but it wasn't a true passion project of mine. I wasn't very sold or loved the idea of scanning documents and paperwork, right? I loved the business because it was bringing in money. I was able to hire 15 people, get a proper office in a building, and we had chose to set up in the underdeveloped, distressed, kind of a war zone type of area. I prefer the term, developing community. And the reason why is the work was very, quote unquote, simple, right? You sit there, you scan the document, you rename the file based on some guidelines and some protocols or procedure. It's all step by step written out there what you need to do. So I was able to hire other people, get a full-time manager there, but I really wasn't sure, if I wanted to pursue this business since I wasn't very into it. I love action sports, and one of my hobbies is spending, if not all my time, majority of it at the beach. And so we would take off every weekend, and whenever the surf was good, to go spend time and put time in the water. I met a surf camp instructor while on one of my surfing sessions. We totally hit it off. And, I threw the idea out there, hey, why don't we formalize all this, or why don't we set up our own major surf camp, or at least, make it more formal, right? Run it like a business, because he was just kind of taking on students and people interested in learning how to surf as they come along on a referral basis. He wanted to be able to bring in more volume. I had some experience in putting a business together, marketing, generating, and getting clients. And we started our own surf camp. We partnered up with local beach resorts in the area. And I tell you, for somebody that just graduated from college, had a company paying the bills and some extra money coming over, it was a total dream. I absolutely loved it. I spent 5 out of 7 days at the beach, working at the resort, at the surf camp. And I'd come home on the weekends to spend time with my family or to just catch up and see how things were going in the big city. So I had my surf camp, and one of the surf resort owners was quick to point out and say, hey, you know what, Gil, you're bringing in clients during the rainy season, right? When it gets when the weather is horrible. And that's because that's when the storms come in, typhoons are coming in, winds are blowing, the swells coming in. So from a surfer standpoint, that's peak season. That is the ideal time to go out, because that's when you're going to get the best waves or ideal conditions to hit the water and surf. So we loved it. Most resorts in the Philippines are open for about 2, 3, maybe 4 months in the year. Some resorts are only open for 2 months, which is summer break. They generate enough business that they can close shop for the rest of the year. Since we were bringing in an additional 3 to 6 months of business during the typhoon season when everybody else would close shop, I was able to develop some really good relationships with some resort owners. So we were hanging out at the beach one day, and he pointed out, hey, you know, we were able to help build that neighborhood, that community, and the businesses were thriving, and more tourists were coming in, and the word was coming out that, you know, this area was a great place to, you know, to surf, to spend your weekends, very family friendly. And so we were able to develop really good communities and ties. And one of the resort owners leaned over to me and said, hey, Gil, if there ever comes a time one day when you want to buy property out here, let us know. We will help you, and we will make sure you get some seriously good real estate out here. Because like it is with any, you know, province or beaches, you have to have local community and support even to just buy property or to get into that particular area. And a light bulb went off in my head, and I was thinking, man, if I could have my own beach resort one day, that would be awesome. When I took a look at the price points, they were still way outside of what I was normally used to seeing, you know, numbers wise and spending wise. And I thought to myself, you know, how can I shorten the time frame, okay, in order for me to generate a ton of cash, income, and investments, just raise enough money, okay, raise as much money as possible in the shortest amount of time. How can I do that? Where can I do that? And it took me a while, and I was thinking about it, and eventually it dawned on me and it hit me, right? What you can do in the Philippines in about 10 years, here in the United States, can do it in half the time, maybe even less. That's what I love about being out here. If you're willing to put in the time, the work, you can make some really cool stuff happen. And I'm going to share that on what I've been up to and what I've been able to do here in 2007, right? So that surf camp was fantastic. You know, things were rolling. From a little surf club, I was able to, you know, organize and formalize it and start up a surfing association, right? A major surfing association, up to the point that it was recognized by an Olympic body. It was recognized as the surfing and water sports organization in the entire Philippines, where if you wanted to participate in the Olympics, this is the group that you would go to not only get accreditation, but, you know, again, this is the local organization to tap and get into. And I did all this, you know, from my home, a little bit computer, laptop, sending out emails, getting on some conference calls in order to get accredited. Other groups have tried it before. We were able to do it, right? And I thought that was pretty awesome, because again, all happened from home, and just a real desire to, and with the help of some amazing sponsors and team members. Give me a quick second to pause. The other camera is about to die, so we got to make sure that we plug it in before it conks out. So I'm going to just run around here like a chicken with my head cut off. And okay, perfect. You have the plug? Or is it over there? No? No, do you know where the outlet is, or the plug? Okay. 1 second while we look for where that plug is, because, nope, that's not it. We're talking actual plug for laptop camera. Thank you. You'll handle that. I'll plug this one in. Yeah, definitely want to get a backup recording, and so I got this camera running, and then I have one on my desk on my laptop recording as well. So I hope that didn't totally mess up the flow a little bit. But again, to recap, so I was that was one of the major projects that I got involved with, a true passion project of mine. And kind of reached the point where I wasn't really sure what to do with the computer business and the digital archiving company, because again, it wasn't something I was very into passion-wise. I had talked with my mentor, met with him at his business, at his office, and he goes, you know what, Gil, you have to find a company that can show you the ins and outs of how to start a business, grow a business, and really take it to the next level. And we're talking, different departments, different level of operations, and getting down to the nitty-gritty of it, right? You have the ability or access, to go into the United States, have a green card, and so that's one thing you should definitely maximize and looking into, right? So I was thinking about what my mentor Jason was saying at the time, and I was thinking about the one of the resort owners' offer on helping me acquire prime real estate, resort real estate out there, and me wanting to be able to do that, but I had to generate ton of capital and cash in order to buy that type of prime real estate. And again, light bulb went off, hit me. Jason said it best: move to the United States, find a company that can help me do that. And in 3 days, I kid you not, 3 days, I bought a ticket, packed my bags, and before I could think twice about it, I hopped on an airplane and moved here to the United States. So that's what happened in August of 2007, where I first landed in San Francisco. In San Francisco, I was couch surfing. So I was still surfing, this time couch surfing. If you don't know what the term is, look it up. I was staying with some buddies of mine who were studying in San Francisco at one of the universities. As much as I wanted to find a great job and to start working somewhere, it wasn't hard, or it wasn't very easy to find, right? Second. Frank, you're going to have to lean it over. It's not plugged. When you kind of like fidget the plug? There you go. Keep it that. Bingo. Right on. I think we got it. All right, good. Yes. Okay, so that camera's plugged in. This one is still rolling. Thank you for bearing with us, right? I mean, I got Frank here to help me out. If it wasn't for Frank, I don't know how we would get these things all running at the same time. So I started in San Francisco, and I'm thinking, heck, I graduated. I was honor society at the university. I had competed at a national level in my sport discipline. Invitation to join the national team. I graduated with a business management degree. I had a minor in Mandarin and Chinese studies. I had started my own business during my thesis presentation. Keep in mind, you're supposed to research and put a project together, kind of like as if you were going to launch it. So you didn't have to actually launch the project, but if you wanted to, or that's how you were operating, right? Like if somebody gave you all the money to do that, you could easily launch that particular business. And so our thesis project, the project that I had put up, was the actual business that I had started, and we were bringing in the dough. So we were going from just theory-based, teaching and books and putting a business plan together, and we were actually doing it, and we were profitable. We were making really good money off of it, and I had hit the goal that my mentor Jason had thrown out there when he was a freshman, and by the time he graduated, of being able to clear 7 figures in revenue and make that kind of money, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I pretty much should get a job, or at least be able to get into interviews. And I was just hopping from one interview to another. I sent out hundreds of resumes, and I didn't get anywhere for 3 months, and it was a bit of a bummer at the time, because you put all this hard work, they tell you to get good grades in school, and that's exactly what I had done. Even though I was busted for a whole bunch of mischief, I understood the rules of the game. I played it accordingly, and I was still able to put up, come up with that ideal resume that they tell you to go out and get, right? So for 3 months, I couldn't find anything. The first thing that I could get my hands on, and this was through a buddy of mine who referred it over, was valet. Get excited. I worked at the Hyatt Burlingame in San Francisco, which is more of a business hotel, working from 10:30 at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. Now in San Francisco, you got to make at least $75,000 a year just to survive, zero savings. And so in addition to working valet at the Hyatt Burlingame, I would spend the day looking for other jobs, and on the weekends selling insurance. Anything that would bring the money in. I was able to, work or find somebody who would take me under their wing, or at least, show me how to sell insurance since it was commission only. I figured, heck, what's the worst that could happen, if not learn how to do this whole thing and sell, right? So eventually I was able to get a job in sales and marketing, right? I was able to send my resume to a company that specializes in sales and marketing, which was really just a fancy way of saying they went door to door in residential neighborhoods selling TV, internet, and phone services. That's what they did. They called it sales and marketing. The recruiting funnel is fantastic. I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Then I actually went out on the field interview, and that's what we ended up doing. Right now, most people would pretty be bummed about that, falling or being placed in that position, going door to door. Again, not very glamorous. But in high school, I read the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's what started my obsession with going into real estate, becoming a business owner, and being financially free. The concepts in there, again, blew my mind. And so I've always wanted to go into real estate. That's always been at the back of my mind. It worked hand in hand with moving to the United States and getting started in real estate. So that was one. Second seed it planted in my mind was having to learn sales and marketing. Robert Kiyosaki in his book talks about his experience working with Xerox. At the time, they had the best sales training anywhere in the country. And so he said, you got to learn sales and marketing. You got to hit the pavement and sell some stuff. So I guess I took that literally, and when I came on this opportunity, I was like, well, hey, not exactly the most glamorous. Again, it's 100% commission sales. Not quite sure, how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to learn sales. I'm going to learn marketing. And part of their training program was recruiting, where they show you how to pass on your knowledge in sales and being able to, put numbers on the books, right? More clients, more sales. Everybody's happier at the end of the day. They were going to show you how to recruit, which is to build an organization around you, and management as well. So they're going to show you how to run a company, how to set it up, have systems in place, and be able to build that business over time. So it wasn't exactly, what I had hoped, the channel that I wanted to learn, sales and marketing, but that's exactly what I needed at the time. So I started in San Francisco on AT&T. AT&T was the services we sold to homeowners: TV, internet, and home phone, right? Within about 5 months, I was able to work my way up the totem pole, build a team of 10 other sales rep, and I was the team leader, where we would focus on three things: sales, recruiting, and management, right? How to run a business, how to continue to create and bring the money in, generate revenue, and recruiting, right? Working with new people, growing the business, finding other candidates who can help us grow the team, grow the business, all on 100% commission based. We continued to do very well, and I earned a spot onto a team that was invited to go to Denver, Colorado. So that led me to my next destination, which is Denver, Colorado. Absolutely love that place, where we were going to pilot a project for Quest Communications. So here I work with AT&T. I was valet. That's already on there. Quest Communications. Quest Communications is like the equivalent of AT&T in the Midwest. They provide the best TV, internet, and phone services, and at least that's what they take. That's what they like to take pride in. Now, this was a door-to-door campaign as well, but it was also a business-to-business campaign. Now, when we were invited to go out there was a team of 10 of us. This was not a full-on campaign. It was a test project, what we call a pilot campaign, right? Where they may roll it out in other markets, they may not keep it, they may scrap it. It all depends on the results of the team that goes out there and how much sales they can put on it, if it's sustainable in multiple markets. And we moved out there with 10 other individuals. I was invited to come along, even though I was still pretty fresh in the company. Again, 5-6 months. But that's what I love about an environment where the harder you work, the more rewards you reap from it, right? And the faster it is you can move up. So I was invited to go out to Denver, Colorado. We spent about 2-3 months piloting this project, and it was a complete hit. Quest loved it. We were bringing in more clients. We were able to upsell existing clients, build better bundle packages, and keep customers for 2-3+ years longer through contracts. So they absolutely loved it, and they rolled this out into multiple markets, right? They rolled it out in Minnesota. They rolled it out in, I can't remember the other markets, but wherever Quest is in, whatever blueprint or footprint they have, that's where they rolled it out in. From Denver, Colorado, I also spent some time in Minnesota, where I would travel around and train the other markets and the other offices for Quest communication, passing on information on best practices like how we were able to do so many sales, how we were able to do high quality sales, and best practices when it comes to recruiting. Right? Now, Denver, Colorado, we moved there in December, so right smack in winter. And I'm born and raised on an island, never seen snow in my life, so all of this, again, totally fresh and new experience. But imagine building a 100% commission sales force in the cold of winter, let alone in a market like Minnesota. But that's exactly what we were able to do, and we were very successful at it, right? From Denver, Colorado, 6 months later, because of, again, the sales, the quality, and being able to grow the office, we went from 10 full-time reps, commission only, to 60 full-time reps, right? And we had candidates coming through the door. We had applicant after applicant to screen. So it was absolutely fantastic. I was able to move up in management, and that's when I was offered to have my very own business and my own client. My own client meaning my own Quest, my own AT&T, in a market that I would oversee. So they walked me through the incorporation process, and that's when I started my first company here in San Diego. I'm going to put that right here. So I had my first company in the Philippines when I was 19. Here in San Diego, we incorporated and set up my first business, and my own clients were Quill, which is a subsidiary of Staples. Okay, Quill handles the business division. If you guys have seen the TV show Office, that's kind of like what we did. We sold paper. We sold a lot of paper. Paper is how we get clients, right? That's what we open with. And so I started in San Diego, which was an awesome market to be for a rookie owner or a first-time business owner, right? Sun, surf, sand. I felt like I was home. I absolutely loved it. Young demographics. So it was absolutely amazing. Now, in San Diego, my very first client was Quill, and I also had the chance to work with AT&T. Was able to handle 2 campaigns since the office was growing and we were doing very well. And again, when you're doing well, the harder you work, they reward you in these programs. So I was able to take on 2 clients. I went from 0 to 2,500 new clients in my first business year. Right? We did a ton of office supply sales. Printers, ink, toner, paper clips. You know, we're talking 6 figures in revenue. That's the first year that I had broke 6 figures personally as a business. And, you know, independently, I mean, just for myself as well, right? So this was in San Diego, handled Quill and AT&T. While I was there, I also worked with companies like Time Warner, and the biggest outsourcing group in the world, TRG, which is the resource group. I oversaw their recruiting and hiring for multiple markets that they were in for AT&T services. I would also be in charge of sales and management for that particular market. I'm proud to say we were the best sales office for the entire TRG blueprint with regards to the AT&T campaigns that they were actively working on. Loved that experience. Now, while I was in San Diego, I don't know what triggered it. I think it might have been, you know, it might have been a long week and I had some downtime. Something popped up, and you know, I was thinking, well, you know, now that things are going great, you know, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life, right? Because this is the kind of business model where you have to come in every single day, right? If you guys haven't seen the movie The Goods, watch it. Check it out. That's kind of what we did, except we were more structured. Everybody dressed to the nines. They had full suits, nicest of ties, clean shoes, clean cut, all that good stuff. But essentially, it was like The Goods, where we would go around, do some hard sales. We would come up in the morning. We would gather in the bullpen or like the main floor. We would do our rah-rah meetings. It's an experience you guys should definitely check out, especially if you want to see, what we're talking like candidates anywhere from fresh out of college to 30, 40-year-olds running their own sales meetings, and it's just a riot. It's definitely something you should check out. I'm very proud to have been a part of the SIGCOR training program on both door-to-door and business-to-business campaigns, right? So I still did get to thinking, is this the kind of business model that I want, right? I want to come in. Do I really want to come in every day, spend 10, 11, 12-hour days here in the office? If I don't come in and run the sales meeting and inspire everybody and do all that stuff that we were doing every day, the business would have stopped. So it wasn't the business model that I wanted to stick with. I had learned my marketing and sales that I needed to pick up on. I got my training on how to put together businesses, develop relationships. And from this experience right here, I can say that I can go into any market under any conditions and generate revenue and do deals. Whether it be office supplies, whether it be telecommunications, whether it be, what else were we doing at the time then? Insurance, right? And that's what allowed me to transition and segue into real estate. I watched a webinar by Joe McCall, who specializes in lease option investing. And right then and there, I knew that I could do this. This is exactly what I want to get into. And I could also do it and build that company virtually as well. So I eventually transitioned all my reps into other companies. Eventually, some of them ended up getting pirated anyway, since, we were working on 100% commission, right? When another organization or major company offers you a base salary, a very competitive base salary, any base, going from 100% commission to any base looks very appealing. So even if I wanted to keep them, I couldn't. They got pirated. I lost half my office that way. And I kept the office or the business open long enough where the rest of the reps could find other companies and transition out and go into, right? So I started in real estate there working with Joe McCall, where he became my next mentor and my very first mentor in real estate. Prior to Joe McCall, I had contacted other educators, other gurus. In between them not answering my calls, returning emails, or not being able to get a hold of anybody, I can tell you Joe's office was the most responsive, and I guess it helps when you call every day and leave a voicemail every single hour until they call you back. I was calling Joe because he specializes in doing deals virtually, and he loves to leverage his time and outsource, right? And I had already built relationships in the outsourcing industry with call centers, virtual assistants, and a bunch of other programs and platforms. So my pitch to Joe was, I know we can start a company and help your students do more deals, offering virtual assistant services and marketing services for investors and first-time students in the real estate niche and space. I started working with Joe, getting properties under contract. I lived in San Diego. Joe's real estate market was in St. Louis. All right, I was locking up properties in St. Louis, sending it to a local sales manager or a local agent, and they would move that contract forward, and we would flip houses that way. We flipped enough houses where Joe actually calls me one day and says, "Hey, man, so far things are going really well. I was just wondering what you're thinking about doing here in the near future." And I said, well, you know what? I think no real plans. I was still in San Diego at the time. Once I got out of this company, I started working again in the surfing industry. I was able to focus and leave an industry that I wasn't very passionate about and focus on, a passion project. And I started working with a surfing company that sold apparel, board shorts, right? They were selling board shorts. And while I was there, I exceeded my sales goals and targets. They were expecting me to make X amount. Basically, I doubled that, and that's how much new revenue I had brought in from new clientele. Again, the training that I picked up, the resilience from going door to door, going from one prospect to the other, up until you find the right person to do business with, create value, and build a long-term relationship. So while I was at the surfing company, eventually I got fired, oddly enough. Since I was a little too entrepreneurial for the management team, and I moved out of that space. That's when I called Joe back, and I was like, "Hey, Joe, crazy story, right? Don't want you to get too freaked out, but my schedule has cleared. I don't have any active projects right now, and you can tell me no, right? But what are your thoughts about me moving out there, becoming neighbors, take me under your wing and we'll start flipping even more houses together. Right, because he was very happy with the results that we were doing virtually. I had never met Joe. We had only corresponded via email and conference calls. I saw him on a webinar, right, from reiclub.com. That's how I discovered him. That's how I came across his content, and that's where we started our relationship. And again, keep in mind, I called every hour, leaving a voicemail until they got back to me, since I was very interested in getting my hands on this project. So I called Joe and threw that idea out there. Joe was like, hey, you know what? That actually might work. I think that's pretty cool. If you'd be willing to drive out here and move here, I would say why not? You know, and at the time my options were, I was initially thinking about moving to Mexico, staying out there, and because you live super cheap in Mexico, you make the same amount of money, you can live like a king out there, so they say. And I was sold on that idea at the time. But when the opportunity opened up to work under a real estate investor, and do multiple deals, I jumped on it right away. I moved with a buddy of mine to St. Louis, where I spent the next 6 months wholesaling properties, single family homes, duplexes, talking to motivated sellers. I would be the one to go out into the marketplace, meet with the sellers, negotiate a little bit. At the time I wasn't very, it was new, structuring offers, owner financing, all that good stuff. But again, I could always just show up at Joe's place. We would review the deals, and they would prepare it for me, or at least the exit strategy, right? So while we were flipping houses with Joe, I also started my own company, offering virtual assistant services and marketing services for real estate investors. Now, this is just a fancy way of saying if you can't hire somebody here locally, since it'll cost you about $2,000 minimum for a full-time position, maybe cheaper if you're living in a market that's not as busy or not as competitive, or if it isn't a coastal market. So we're able to bring in full-time staff, employees, team members, call it what you want, for $500 a month, full-time employee, all right? But most importantly, launch some marketing services. Direct mail, online pay-per-click. We set up a program where investors will be able to focus on just talking to the most motivated of sellers and doing deals. Answering the phones, pre-screening sellers, getting the phone to ring. Those were the three main things. Those were our three selling points, value propositions. That's what we had focused on, that we wanted to deliver to investors nationwide. And what that did for Joe McCall's coaching program is not only did students see a higher success rate, and they say the proof is in the pudding, so check out the testimonial pages for investors that we've worked with, that we've been able to take their business both to the next level, right? Take people that have never done deals to do deals in 30 days or less, or even investors cracking 6 figures in revenues and wholesaling fees. It's just absolutely mind-blowing and fantastic. And whenever we talk about, income, things like that, results aren't typical. Then again, if you want to be average and typical, by all means, go for it. But I know I'm not, neither should you. So, yeah, just throwing that out there. But we do have case studies and testimonials from actual investors, clients, and students that have been able to make that successful transition into real estate and do deals. So we were doing deals in St. Louis. We started our own marketing company, specializing in working with investors, which is still active and up and running today, right? From St. Louis, right? After spending about 4, maybe 6 months at the most, I would say maybe 4 months, out in the field meeting with motivated sellers and homeowners and getting, learning all the different other marketing strategies that you can go into. I tapped Joe and said, hey, Joe, I think now's the time. I think now's the time we can expand, grow the business to a whole nother level, and we should go into markets with bigger margins and bigger numbers. And that's when I made the proposal to go ahead and move to Los Angeles, California. And this is where I'm based right now. I've got an office here in Old Town Pasadena, which is a long way from my original couch surfing days in San Francisco. As you guys saw, the year right now was 2013. And here in Los Angeles, like I mentioned earlier, in case you guys missed it, I make a full-time living as a real estate wholesaler. Some people don't consider that proper investing. To me, I could care less. While they figure out the definition of terms, we've probably wholesaled another 2 to 3 deals. Now here in Los Angeles, one of the one of the more noteworthy things that I like to share, and a good talking point and feature when it comes to track record, is what I've personally been able to do in personal production. Me going out, doing deals, locking up properties, flipping it to an end buyer, wholesaling it out. Here I did $140,000 in 90 days. And when you generate that kind of money, it opens up other doors and windows of opportunity, and it allows you to kind of focus on a bunch of other cool stuff. Now, when we had done this in 90 days, the rest of my team at the time decides to take 2 months off. You guys can check that out on my Facebook page when I had originally made that post about how the rest of the office decided to take those 2 months off. I couldn't last a couple weeks. I got to thinking, what else can we do? What else can we do? What do I really want to get into? And that's where, kind of where we sit right now. From wholesaling, I'm proud to say I'm actually getting, getting in touch and working on my first rehab project, right? Cutting my teeth and getting some experience there. We're also taking a look at raising private money, since we've generated a ton of interest from our activity here locally in the Los Angeles market. And I've been able to explore other projects, like going ahead and starting my own blog or website on best practices for wholesaling. And you guys can see that in the other portions of my blog or my personal website on the best practices that we have as a marketing company. Everything that we are doing, at least the best practices, the stuff that's working really well for us, we're sharing with other wholesalers nationwide so that they can find other deals. Because now we're going into buying mode as well. We're looking at going into multifamilies and commercial. So, most people think we're pretty nuts for just putting out all that really juicy information out there when you have gurus and some of the major educators and companies out there selling these courses for like thousands of dollars. But I mean, it's a passion project of mine, and my team feels the same way. People ask me, Gil, how could you guys just kind of share this content out there when there's other people selling it for so much money? And here's the story behind the story there, right? Somewhere here while I was in San Diego, kind of reevaluating my options where I wanted to go into, I attended every single major real estate event that I could find and get my butt to. When Rich Dad was in town, I went to that. When Trump University was in town, I went to that. I attended other clubs, other big performances, the kind of stuff you already see out there, like Fortune Builders. I've sat in on their sessions as well. My very first one, or one of the first ones that I attended, was a Trump University presentation, and I was totally clueless about what was coming or what kind of content they would provide and things like that. I mean, I was so clueless at the time. I actually thought Donald Trump was going to show up at the event. I mean, if you read their marketing materials, they're crafted so well, it looks like Trump's going to show up. You attend there and it sounds like Trump's going to be coming up on stage. And instead, I got trumped, right? I purchased my first course for several thousands of dollars, and it wasn't even a coaching program, it was a course. And I could not help but sit across the table when one of their sales rep was telling me, was trying to justify or sell me on buying the course, right? I couldn't help but wonder, we're talking like several thousands of dollars here, right? Does it not make sense that we could use that money towards marketing? Right? Or maybe half of it towards marketing, half of the other money. I understand you guys need to make a living as a company. So yes, you keep the half. Let's use the other half towards a marketing budget. But no, that's not how they do business, they said, and I didn't know any better at the time, and that was really one of my first experiences. So I forked over everything that I had saved up, anything I had set aside, from my tips to my success here, in launching my own business-to-business and door-to-door programs, and I had bought the major course package. I couldn't afford the coaching one since, those are going for like 20, 30, 40,000, and it just, I just couldn't make the numbers just didn't pencil out, right? And so we share all these best practices and content with the world because now, I don't want anybody to get trumped like I did, right? And the information is out there. If you really wanted to look and find it, you will find it. Also, if you guys haven't already noticed, I do come from a background where from little to no money, you can generate revenue, you can do deals, you can generate commissions, or find a way to launch and start up a business. We went from 0 to 2,500 clients while we were in San Diego. We spent $0 on marketing advertising. In case I forgot to mention that earlier, I love to talk about that and point that out because I think that's pretty awesome and something noteworthy. And so my experience here all throughout, generating that kind of revenue, being able to go into any market under any conditions, that kind of training has really shaped and set us up for the kind of projects that we're looking to get involved in and work with right now. We have some subscribers and people just kind of following our content who have been who are actually looking to fund other projects that we're going into, whether it be real estate based, other types of businesses. And again, even something as simple as what can we do with some of the websites that we have out there? If there's other ways we can continue to help other people, and build another build a successful financial project, right? So I don't know if I'm missing anything out on here. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a background and a snapshot of where we're coming from. I always like to start out and kind of draw a line through here because again it kind of relates to where I've started from, and although it has been a bit of an up and down kind of roller coaster in between starting here. Now most people would think valet is a pretty lowly position. I did not. I appreciated any money that had come in at the time and any big break that I could get. But all throughout this time, like anybody else out there, there's always going to be ups and downs and highs and lows. But I like to draw this arrow straight up there because, as John Maxwell says, you're going in the right direction if it's a bit of an uphill climb and an incline of a battle. So I hope that that gives you guys a good snapshot and idea of a bit of my background, my story, and for more information, other content, and let's say other projects that we're going into, shop around and look here through the site, and I think that should be it. Cool. So my name is Gil. We'll see you on the next live session we have. For those of you that want to continue and move forward with us, contact my office so that we can get you involved in some of the projects that we're in. For those that are interested in becoming clients of our marketing company, send me an email or send the office an email so that we can have a consultation and see how we can best work together. We have marketing programs for the first-time investor, and we have marketing programs and projects for high-level investors, those that are doing 10, 20, 30, 40 deals per month. I'm currently working on a project right now, and if all goes well, I think it's going to be the biggest bird dog program nationwide that is out there. And I'm also looking to get my hands on some other projects in the multifamily and the commercial space. In between taking a look at it as personal acquisitions or as a company that we want to get into, we also have buyers that are chomping at the bits to go into that next space. So going from doing deals virtually, wholesaling locally, wholesaling virtually nationwide, into going into much bigger, larger deals. So with that, guys, my name is Gil. See you on the flip side. We do have training sessions live every day. They run from Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Look out for the schedule. We cover a variety of different topics. Primarily, we have open Q&A sessions for that are real estate related. Whether you're a bird dog, a wholesaler, a high-level investor, we've got presidents of REIA groups that are participating in these live sessions, and I continue to thank and appreciate all your guys' support for helping us move and provide some of the best content out there, or at least an active live resource where people can get their questions answered live, and they have a resource that they can tap into on a regular, consistent, and an ongoing basis. So we do have those live sessions that are online. I'm the biggest fan of a lot of face-to-face. I think you can tell that by some of the projects that I've worked on and programs that I've cut my teeth on. And so we do have live local meetups that we hold regularly here in the markets that we're in. And what else? So we have the online stuff, we've got the local meetups, and other than that, I mean, thanks again for hanging out this long in the video. Do appreciate it. And to those that have followed us from day one and have been supporting us. Thank you so much. You guys are the reason that we continue to push forward, stumble upwards, right? John Maxwell calls it stumbling forward, and continues to take us to that next level. So I genuinely appreciate you guys taking the time to go through this, to kind of take in the content and information. And if it's something you want to move forward with, again, send me an email, send me a text message, so that we can open a dialogue and figure out how we can work together on one of these projects. Or it might even be something that's not on here. It could be something even bigger and better. Anything to help grow the industry, provide great content. So my name is Gil. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye.